Hello and welcome to the Movies Past and Present podcast. It's October 14th, 2021, and this is episode 75. I'm your host, Stanford Clark, and I'm podcasting from the crossroads of the West in beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah. Just like my blog, moviespastandpresent.com, I'll be providing recommendations, commentary, and reviews about current and classic cinema. Thanks for tuning in, and let's do this thing. New in theaters starting this Friday is The Last Duel. This is a historical drama from 20th Century Studios. It's directed by Ridley Scott, and it is a gripping tale of betrayal and vengeance set against the brutality of 14th century France. This epic explores the ubiquitous power of men, the frailty of justice, and the strength and courage of one woman willing to stand alone in the service of truth. Based on actual events, this film unravels long-held assumptions about France's last sanctioned duel, which took place in the year 1386 between two Frenchmen, and sorry about these pronunciations, Jean de Carouges and Jacques Legris. These were two friends turned bitter rivals. Jean de Carouges, who in the film was played by Matt Damon, is a respected knight known for his bravery and skill on the battlefield. And Jacques Legris, who is played in the film by Adam Driver, is a Norman squire whose intelligence and eloquence make him one of the most admired nobles in court. When Carouges' wife, Marguerite, who in the film was played by Jodie Comer, is viciously assaulted by Legris, which is a charge that Legris denies, Carouges' wife refuses to stay silent, and she steps forward to accuse her attacker, which is an act of bravery and defiance that puts her life in jeopardy. And so this ensuing trial by combat, a grueling duel to the death, places the fate of all three in God's hands. This screenplay is written by Nicole Holofcener, and I'm sorry again about the pronunciation. Also, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon contributed to the screenplay, so that's pretty cool. And Ben Affleck has a supporting role in this film too, so they're getting the band back together. Also, this is based on a novel, again a historical novel. That was published in 2004 by the author Eric Yeager. I heard an interview earlier this week with director Ridley Scott about this film, and it sounds like this film has a real Rashomon vibe to it. If you're not familiar with it, Rashomon is a Japanese film from 1950 done by director Akira Kurosawa, and it uses this narrative that involves the characters that were involved in a particular event, all sharing subjective and contradictory versions of this same event. It's really a terrific film if you've never seen it. Highly recommended. So anyway, we'll see. I'm interested to see The Last Duel, and we'll most likely be providing a review in a future podcast. The Last Duel is rated R by the Motion Picture Association for strong violence, including sexual assault, sexual content, some graphic nudity, and language. All right, for reviews this week, finally got to see the 25th James Bond film, No Time to Die. This No Time to Die was supposed to open up in 2020. And then, of course, because of COVID, the release date kept getting pushed. And then there was also all these rumors that it was just going to go into streaming, etc. Anyway, it finally opened up in theaters, exclusively in theaters, too, last weekend. And I was so happy to get the chance to see it. I'm going to keep this spoiler-free because there could be really a lot to spoil in this film. But as you've probably heard, this is officially, I guess informally or however you want to say it, this is actor Daniel Craig's final time playing James Bond. And he's made 5 James Bond films. The first one being Casino Royale, and then there was Quantum of Solace, Skyfall, Spectre, and now No Time to Die. One thing that's really been interesting about these 5 Daniel Craig James Bond films is that they've had a similar writing team. Some other writers have contributed, but it's mostly Neil Purvis and Robert Wade. And I thought that was a really good move on the creative team's part, in that these films really have they're just very connected storylines, connected characters, more so really than any other portrayal of James Bond. I mean, sure, there's been recurring characters and recurring themes in some of the various James Bond movies over the years, but also those really can stand alone. Where these again are really connected. So you will probably recognize some of the people in this, but well, just as a quick summary, James Bond has left active service, and he is hanging out in Jamaica. But his peace is short-lived when his CIA buddy Felix Leiter shows up asking for help, which leads Bond into this trail of a mysterious villain armed with dangerous new technology. Again, that could be most any Bond film, right? And it does follow a lot of the same tropes of a Bond film, but again, that's one of the things to love about it, particularly this one. I thought that No Time to Die really played a great homage to the classic Bond villain. In this film, the villain is played by Rami Malek. He plays a dude named Safin, who really does have some dangerous new technology that he's planning to unleash on the Earth. He also has, kind of the classic James Bond villainous lair, that's on an island and all this stuff. So that part I really, that part was great too. And lots of homages in the film to everything from just, paintings or different things of various characters that you'll recognize from the past. And I like that. They also bring in some of the classic James Bond automobiles that get used, by Bond and by different characters. So anyway, lots of Easter eggs and fun things for Bond fans to look at. Returning is Léa Seydoux as Madeline Swan, who's been in previous films. Of course, the Office crew is back led by Ralph Fiennes as M. Naomi Harris is back as Moneypenny. Ben Whishaw is back as Q. As I already mentioned, Felix Leiter, the CIA agent, is back, played again by Jeffrey Wright. Christoph Waltz shows up as Blofeld. Again, is just a big bad in the James Bond world. So the cast is great. Also, there's a couple of new additions to the cast. LaShawna Lynch plays a 00 agent, which I'll let you discover more about that in the film. Also, Daniel Craig and Ana de Armas, she was in Knives Out, the film Knives Out. They have kind of a fun reunion. She plays a different character. She's playing what I just like to call kind of like a classic Bond girl. A pretty girl who can, in this case, she's a pretty girl who can really kick butt. So anyway, I really liked No Time to Die. Director Cary Joji Fukunaga, who's an American director, uh, did a bang up job with it. It's of course, action packed like we'd expect. Very compelling, beautifully directed, beautifully edited, great acting. I think probably if I were to have a complaint, is the length of the film. It's almost 3 hours. And of course they've got to bring a lot of stuff to conclusion. So I'll give them that because they wrap it up. They wrap up this Daniel Craig storyline. So there's that going on, but I thought it was a bit long, although I never got bored, and again, just terrific action scenes and really well put together. And Daniel Craig just was a really good James Bond. It'll be very interesting to see what, I guess, the one spoiler alert I will say, which is a classic thing that they put at the end of the credits of James Bond films, is that James Bond will return, and it's going to be very interesting to see how the creative team decides to do that. So anyway, No Time to Die now playing in theaters. Definitely recommended if you like that sort of thing, and I hope you can go have a good time at the movies. I hope you've been following me on Instagram. I'm at moviespap, as in past and present, where I've been counting down to Walt Disney Animation Studios' 60th animated feature, which is going to be opening up next month. It's called Encanto. So 60 days before the opening date of Encanto, which is November 24th, I started doing a once-a-day post featuring in chronological order each of these 59 films from Walt Disney Animation Studios. So I've been having a lot of fun with that, and I hope you'll tune in again if you're interested in that sort of thing. But I had the distinct pleasure this last week of interviewing historian and author Mindy Johnson, and Mindy Johnson is an expert in women's role in animation and in film history. In 2017, she published just this epic work called Ink and Paint, The Woman of Disney's Animation. And it's an absolutely fantastic book. I mean, not only is it a wonderful book about the history of Disney animation, which is something I'm very interested in, but she also, though, highlights the women that worked at the studio. Basically, women did all of the tasks which were called inking and painting of the animation cells. So the animators, which were mostly male, did all the animated drawings, and then they would be sent over to this ink and paint department, as it was called, and literally women would trace the drawings, again using some kind of a black paint, and then all of the colors would get added by these various teams. So fascinating history, and she's just doing lots of interesting work in this field of animation and film history. So Mindy is doing a really cool presentation this upcoming Sunday, October 17th, in New York City, in association with Film Forum. And she's going to be screening some vintage Disney cartoons, and talking about, again, the importance of the woman at Disney Animation, and just the amazing work that they all collectively did. So anyway, I had a kind of a nerd moment talking to Mindy about both her work and then this presentation. I will have links about this presentation on Sunday, October 17th. You need to pay to go, and at Film Forum, you also will be required to provide proof of vaccination for entry to the theater. But anyway, and you can go to filmforum.org, but I'll have links to the specific page on my on the podcast notes on my blog. Anyway, here's my interview with Mindy Johnson. Honestly, it's an honor to meet you, Mindy. I am a huge admirer of your work. I've seen you at D23 events. I'm a big Disney fan, and also at the Turner Classic Movies Classic Film Festival. If I'm not mistaken, you did a panel there for a screening.
Was that the Sleeping Beauty panel?
Yes.
Yeah, that was.
I think it was Sleeping Beauty. Yeah.
With Floyd and Jane and.
Yes.
And what a great way to see that film with a packed audience, and we had people. There were people in there who had never seen it before.
I mean, Mindy.
Can you imagine having never seen Sleeping Beauty and
then getting to see it on the big screen?
Right, and with a couple of the original artists there, and those images that I was able to share hadn't been seen before.
They were phenomenal.
Yeah,
I think I just had to keep pinching myself, Mindy. Like, I can't believe I'm actually getting to see this, because Sleeping Beauty is one of my favorite films. I mean, just as far as the artistry and I honestly, your book, Ink and Paint: The Women of Walt Disney Animation. I own it. I think it's just a tremendous work, Mindy. Honestly, I'm in awe of your research and
there's a lot more ahead. Oh my goodness.
I can't wait. I know we need to talk about this Film Forum event, but maybe we can talk about that first. And then I'd love to hear more about what you're working on and what you can share.
Yeah. There are a few things I gotta keep
keep that quiet. Keep on the DL. This Film Forum event sounds wonderful. It's happening next weekend, right?
I'm so excited about this. We'd been trying to get. If you've had the chance to hear me, obviously you've traveled probably to the different locales. And,
yes.
New York has been it's been a sort of the one place I need to get this, to share the news of all these discoveries, and COVID had a hand in delaying a few things.
Delayed everything.
Yeah, but I'm just so elated. Bruce and his entire team at the Film Forum have just been great, and so we're finally going to make this happen, which is exciting. And with the the little treasure of pencils, pens, and brushes.
Yes.
Unfortunately, COVID kind of took a toll on getting word out about this one.
Yeah, because just the momentum, right? It probably just kind of stopped a lot of. Yeah.
I had last year I was scheduled to be everywhere.
I believe it. Yeah.
Stopped. So, and I can't really do too much online with it. So, really, there's a bigger impact, as you know, being in person. So.
Yes.
But it's such a little treasure. It goes beyond ink and paint. It's not a junior version by any means. I just had so much, and I still have so much information beyond as tiny as ink and paint is. Tiny tome.
I know. It has its own shelf in my home, Mindy. I'm just saying.
And it's a good upper body workout too. Off the shelf. But that book, in working on ink and paint, you may have heard me say I got about 6 or 8 months into the research, and I called my editor in a panic and said, it can't be a small book. This is epic. And women were everywhere, and we thought it was going to be about the size of my Tinkerbell book, and I just said, no, this is nobody's covered this. This is the other half of our experience. and our history, and yet there's nothing on what these women did, and we have to get this done and done right. And even in the size of that volume, it still is just scratching the surface, just scratching the surface.
Mm-hmm.
I really, kept going, more, I need more, I need another. And my editor's like, Mindy, it's unwieldy already.
Yes.
So, and to her, I'm so grateful. She was so spectacular about what I said. Look, it has to be much bigger. She said, okay, we'll up your page count and trim size, and didn't bat an eyelash. Just said, great, we'll do that. So she was a real champion about this. She was very understanding when I had to sort of plead my case and educate about, because no one knew or had a sense of what women were doing and just how epic their work is still to this day, and how it had been so overlooked because it's so complex
Mm-hmm.
and so remarkable. But with all this extra work, and then the work that these women did even beyond their time in animation. I mean, we have civil rights pioneers and social change agents,
Yes.
and record-breaking pilots, and
Mm-hmm.
and they all worked in animation.
Right. By the way, they worked on
Yeah,
some of the greatest films,
yeah, exactly. And yet nobody knew any of this. So I wanted, and I also, it was challenging to see little ones struggling with that giant book. It was important that they had it, but I thought, no, there's got to be a way to fuse all of this together and get little ones very excited, young girls and boys excited about where women's contributions have been. So, hence
Well,
this little
kudos to
campaign.
you again. It's just is marvelous work. Uh I think your pencils, pen, and brushes book is particularly charming, and with the illustrations by Lorelei Beauvais, because I love her work
Yeah,
too.
she was. I had a very short list who I wanted, and she was at the top, she was at the bottom, she was at the list. She was the list, and
Yes.
it was such a joy to work with her. And she's such a talent. She's kind of our Mary Blair of today,
Oh,
and
she is.
so much so that, but yet she has her own distinct quality to her work. And what I love about each of the images in here, they're just delicious. You just want to dive in. But um, she she has a way of capturing the essence of these women. It's not an exact rendering, but yet it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She's just nailed it. And all I had to do was tell a few stories about them, show her a few photos, and explain what made them so special. And she got it. She just got it. And
You know, she really did. I mean, of course, you both did. How did that collaboration work? Were you like in the same room together?
oh
Or I mean, because also, how do you choose,
yeah,
right? For what stories do you
well,
choose?
that it was a bit of a, gems from jewels. I have about
Yes.
3 other books I'd like to be doing, because there are so many incredible women that, and their stories, their backstories, and who they are as people. But I started working. I thought, well, let me narrow this down. If I can do more volumes, that would be great. But let me start by some of our earliest key women. And then we could perhaps move to pencils, paint, and pixels, and
Yes.
move to the advent of digital. We have incredible women there, and men. I also want to explore some of our early great talent of all genders and hair colors and shoe sizes.
Yes.
So we'll see. But first of all, we got to get the world on balance a little more.
Right.
But
Right.
this was a great sort of dipping our toe into it and seeing where, what we could do. And it was just such a labor of love for everybody, from our layout and all the production teams. And it was an all female production.
Hey,
Very proud of that.
even better. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Well, I gotta tell you, when I was reviewing Ink and Paint again this week, in preparation for our discussion, and I was just reminded when I came to the near the end where there's just all those photographs and it's almost like a yearbook. I mean, I got emotional. I
Yeah.
think
Oh, good.
it's it's uh it's amazing just to think about of course all the people that have worked on these films that we love so much, but this focus on the women is
Well,
just so
that was
important.
another tough. That gallery section was very tough
Yeah,
to
I can
put
imagine that was
choices.
difficult.
I have another, 150 or more women
Yes.
that are now ID'd. We're getting more and more women ID'd.
Okay.
So it had to be winnowed down. I needed to make choices as far as like, well, if they're pictured in the book in another place, then let me bring more women in that we have. I felt it was important, and we could have gone smaller, but then they would have been like postage stamp size.
Yeah, right. I thought the choices you made were excellent as far as just the size and
Thank
yeah,
you.
it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
and that was important. I mean, in shaping that volume, I wanted to ensure that I knew it needed to be nuts and bolts. I knew it needed to be. I wanted as much visual. I write actually very visually.
Hmm.
I get in. What leads me in my research is the visuals, and that helps me to sort of plot and shape. And I designed the book to be more of a magazine read
Yes.
because of its size. It is daunting, seemingly daunting, but you can literally pick it up, flip open to a
Oh,
page, read a few sections, and you've already expanded your world in ways you hadn't before, and get a good huge, not even beyond a morsel, you're getting a feast there. I mean, how often in life do you get your expectations exceeded,
I
right?
know.
So it was important to make it accessible and enjoyable and worthwhile. And as I wanted it to be a constant resource that people dive into again and again and again, a constant book on your shelf.
Well, as I said, I'm a fan. I love it. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful
Oh,
book.
thank
Now,
you.
I the information I received from Film Forum, Mindy was talking about the three shorts specifically that you'll be screening,
Yes, very
and
excited.
tell us a little bit about the choice, these choices
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we knew with having me there and speaking and a lot of what I can impart about these women that sharing a feature film was going to be an all day experience.
Right.
Um, and these wonderful, the early silly symphonies just are such treasures. We don't get to see them in full form as much. You can YouTube them. But
I
you
know. I'm so
get the
jealous. You to
magic
see
and the
these on the
power.
big screen.
Yeah. And what's really remarkable, there's a long list, obviously, of great films
Sure.
to choose from, but these films are really key in that Flowers and Trees is, of course, the first three-strip Technicolor animation out of Disney that wins the Academy Award. And not so much for the animation, it's really for the advent of color. And that's where the women come in. They were working with 80 shades of color, a paint that you'd pick up at the local hardware store that you'd use to paint your bedroom or a barn. And it was Hazel Sewell and her teams that they had to feel their way because it had never really been done before. You had the two-strip Technicolor approach, but that ran to a lot of greens and reds to give
Hmm.
you a believable flesh tone for live action. Didn't really lend itself too well for animation. There were every other studio, even a Byworks studio at the time, was locked into that two-strip approach. Walt waited for that. He didn't like it. It wasn't conveying things on as wide a range as he could, even with the black, white, and three or four shades of gray on the short. So he waited before stepping into color until he saw the three-strip Technicolor approach and said, "That's we'll do this." And once it worked, they literally put production aside with Flowers and Trees. And there are a few other little surprises. You'll have to come and find out about how that came together. But it became a landmark film, and really the animation, if you look at what precedes it, isn't all that new or different. It's the color, the advent of color. And that was an entirely all female team that put that together and had to push and explore and trial and error to convey this world of flowers and trees. Yes, we have lovely anthropomorphized trees and just wonderful little adventures with these characters. They're very charming and cleverly portrayed, but it really was the push of color. And that transformed, it gave Disney a tremendous edge. He locked up the technology for three strips so that they had exclusive use of that technology for 2 years so they could get ahead of the competition. And then by the time you get to the Old Mill, which is one of my most favorite of the Silly Symphonies visually, it's stunning. It's a tone poem.
Yes.
It's really a little visual story. Nothing epic or too humorous. It's very charming. But it was an experiment to see where they could reach in terms of color and tone. And when you go from Flowers and Trees in 1932 to the Old Mill in 1937, spring of 37, it was a pivotal film. Legendary animators Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston said in Illusion of Life, we didn't think we could do a feature-length animated film until we saw what the women accomplished with color in the Old Mill.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's often credited because of the multiplane technology.
Right.
But the color, the impact of color, and this sort of Rembrandt-esque quality, it's so subtle. And we don't even recognize it, or the color shifts as dawn is breaking on the mill, and the story of what occurs in there unfolds. But the lighting shifts, everything that's all done through color. It's not casting lights on it necessarily. It's all done with color. So it's masterful work, and it was done by artists, all women artists who had developed at that point, and you'll meet who that artist was who started the original Disney Paint Labs. They were the only studio to have their own paint lab creating their own paints exclusively for cell animation. So that was another advent that set them apart from any other studio at the time. And again, it was a woman at the head of that.
Isn't that wonderful? And thanks for the additional explanation. And again, the lucky people that get to hear this, get to hear your presentation, see it.
And then, of course, the third piece, Once Upon a Winter Time, we're going to look, of course, at the great Mary Blair. And it's one of the quintessential examples. Walt was always frustrated. He loved her style and her use of color and wanted to be able to convey that into animation. And many feel this really is the closest example of her work, her style on
yes
screen.
Just to clarify, Mindy, this is the same short that was included in
yes.
Melody Time, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What was Mary Blair's specific involvement? I mean, because you see it, and again, as an animation fan, it just has Mary Blair written all over it, as far as just the color and the character design and whatnot. But what specifically, what can you share about that with us?
Well, it's a unique film in that it was part of the anthology series of films that kept the studio going at a rather challenging time period coming out of World War II.
Yeah.
And Mary was really in prominence at that point at the studio. She was working on a lot of the South American films, and this was sort of a little offshoot. They were experimenting, trying to get her sense of style on screen. And you'll see, I've got a few of the conceptual pieces that I'll be showing.
Cool.
But you'll see how that translates, and you'll get a sense of her style. And we see the beginnings of her great sort of mid-century sensibilities.
Yes.
I think a lot of people sort of mistake her for, she was influenced. No, she led that mid-century.
You're gonna say, wasn't she like the trailblazer on that style?
Yeah, and a lot of people misinterpret that. No, she really was a pioneer. And is also exploring, she was part of the watercolorist society here in California. She was just groundbreaking in so many ways. This is also one of the sort of bridge pieces that get us to Cinderella and her great work there.
Oh yeah.
She really was a secret weapon to help the studio get back on track, get over the top, which opened up then sort of the silver era of animation and bringing us Cinderella and Alice in Wonderland and Peter Pan and
Oh,
her conceptual designs for those films.
yeah. The stuff from the
Oh,
50s.
you
Yeah.
just want to bury yourself in them. They're just delicious. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Uh, what any other things you want to talk about your presentation? Yeah, any other little
Well, you're going to be getting a whole smattering of things. You're going to meet some incredible ladies from the earliest years of Disney. A few little surprises as far as who these women were and what they accomplished. But it'll be smatterings. You'll see short segments from Snow White and Fantasia and Pinocchio and just little elements along the way that help enhance their stories. But we will get to see these wonderful short films in their entirety, which again is really rare to see on the big screen.
oh, it just sounds like it's just going to be wonderful.
Yeah, excited about that.
Wonderful. Oh my
And of
goodness.
course, you can there'll be copies of pencils, pens, and brushes on hand, so I'll be there to sign. Or if you have your copies already or ink and paint, bring them in.
I know. I know. I want to bring you my copy of Ink and Paint.
Yeah, I've had folks, and that's why I would see all ages carrying that book, and boy,
Yeah.
I know that's a commitment.
Speaking of commitment books, Mindy, I
Yes,
also in reading your bio that you can, and I've read much of it, the Walt Disney Film Archives
yes.
from Taschen. Holy smokes, that book is so heavy.
Yeah,
but
talk about
but
it. See,
but it's worth it.
ink and paint is nothing. It's a breather, right?
I mean, that's such a remarkable book.
Yeah.
What was your experience working working on that
Well,
project?
I was in the midst of working, I think, on I'd completed or was we were still in production on ink and paint. I think I may have been in layout at the time, and I got the call. And because of my work, the Tinkerbell volume, that little treasure, that
Yes.
kind of is the most that's been written about the Peter Pan era. And a lot of the research I did into that book unearthed, some of those great, brilliant David Hall images of Tinkerbell and
Hmm.
Peter Pan. His early explorations of Peter Pan. He had done incredible in-depth work on Alice in Wonderland in the 1930s, but then also in his short tenure at Disney, he also did a lot of work on Peter Pan.
Yes.
Um, so it was a wonderful opportunity to do a deep dive into that film, and uh, so they reached out to me and said, look, we need someone to write the Peter Pan content. Absolutely, I'd love to. And then, and magically, Cinderella needed to happen, and
Oh yeah.
I for a number of years, I used to run I ran the global publicity for the classic animated titles at Disney.
Okay.
Sort of where I got a lot of my expertise working with a lot of the talent, um, and going a lot of the artwork, going to the artwork to find shape my campaigns
Yes.
and introduce these wonderful, brilliant pieces to new generations. And I got to write on virtually every film and work on mounting campaigns on a global basis for every film, except the way things cycled, I never got to work on Cinderella, which is one of, well, many favorites.
Yes.
And so the opportunity to do a deeper dive into Cinderella, and of course with all that great Mary Blair work, absolutely. So it was a real joy. A little bit of a crunch because I was on
Yes.
deadline for a few other projects, but very delighted about it and thrilled that both those pieces made it into the sort of condensed version as well, which is a little more manageable.
Yeah. You don't need a forklift to
Right.
move.
I always suggest to lay that out on a table and
Yes.
dive in.
Exactly. No, and you'll be well rewarded because it's
Mm.
marvelous, you know.
Oh yeah, just again, really great, really rare, never before seen artwork.
Yes.
You'd think with all this great stuff out there that, oh yeah, been there, done that. No, there are new discoveries happening all the time. So
So, yeah, what's in the hopper, Mindy? What are the projects you can talk about? You know
oh
that you're working on.
boy. um well, as a result of Ink and Paint, of course, what's been really great is now that it's out there, um, more families have come forward, more people have come forward. You can find me on the internet. People are coming to when I am able to be out speaking, are coming to find me, and so I'm unearthing more collections, more discoveries. In fact, just wrapped out going through the collection of an artist who worked at Disney in the 30s and worked at many other studios. So her collection is really remarkable. But as a result of Ink and Paint and my continued work, I thought, okay, I need a breather, which is why pencils, pens, and brushes take
Yes.
long. My editor asked right away, okay, what's next? And I said, something very light and fluffy.
That's
But
right.
Ink and Paint was a bit of a
The
commitment.
perfect, yes.
I needed to shift my brain a little bit.
Oh my goodness.
And
Seriously.
so it was great fun. I think that's why I actually got a little more emotionally connected to this volume and actually wept when I held pencils, pens, in my hand for
Yeah.
the first time because it was just such a delight to do. But uh, as a result, wonderfully and thankfully, I received a really incredible award from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and
Yes.
Sciences. Yeah,
Congratulations for
thank
that.
you.
That's marvelous. It was the
Yeah,
2019 Film Scholar Award. Am I correct?
yes,
Okay. I
yeah.
mean, what a marvelous and well-deserved honor, Mindy, seriously.
Thank you. Well, and with that little honor comes a little more obligation.
Yeah, that's
It's
right.
a
More
little
work.
thank you, but no, they've been just spectacular. And so now I am charged with going way beyond Disney. As you see in Ink and Paint, it does go beyond Disney because
Yes.
it just was an inherent part of the process. And I had to convince my editor there to say, look, it helps us to understand where these women's work stood in a larger context. In contextualizing whatever you're doing, I think is vital. And uh, so it was important. I knew it was inevitable, but this really ensured that I could continue doing this.
Yes.
And so now, uh, COVID has been a little bit of a you work with what you make lemonade out of lemons
Silver
here.
lining.
And so I've had some time. I've been very, very busy doing a lot of teaching, had to convert a lot of my lectures into online contexts. And
Okay.
so a lot going on there. But I've also been able to sort of just lock down and do some further digging. And I'm now working on a series of books and some documentary efforts potentially on women everywhere in animation and early, even going into vaudeville and early lecture circuit, pre cinema, pre animation, where women were involved. And it is game changing. It
Oh,
will,
that's
just as Ink and Paint shifted things for the industry, this is going to change it completely. It's a deep dive into, again, the other wider half of our collected animated experience. And yeah, game changing. I've got women animators much earlier than anyone ever thought. I've got women directing very early on. Um, yeah, it's pretty epic.
oh, that sounds
It's gonna be like 3 volumes
I
of
was gonna
Ink and
say
Paint.
multi-volumes, clearly, and wonderful, as you said, maybe, documentary and all sorts of different things, right? That where this could lead. Well, how exciting. I mean, that's gonna be
There's a lot ahead, so stay tuned. And as I'm hoping to kind of corral things to a point so I can be, but there still are a lot of discoveries to be made. And as soon as I get hooked on a new discovery. I've got to do some traveling for my research, so it's been a little curtailed in some way.
Yes.
Excited to finally be getting out and getting the word spread a little wider.
Oh, absolutely. And well, we just wish you the best with all of these upcoming projects. I hope that your presentation next week in New York is a huge success. I guess I'm just jealous again. I can't be there.
Well, hopefully, like I said, the first of many. And I've been, you want to get this out to as many places as possible.
Yes.
We need this. We need to know the roles these women have had. It's as you know, we have more women studying animation today than ever.
Yes.
More women than men studying animation, but we still have to get the industry in a better place of balance. And this is an important part of making that happen. As soon as our young women and men learn that women have always been there, and we have a more balanced approach to our past, we can balance out the future.
Many thanks again to Mindy Johnson for taking the time to talk with me. And again, if you're in New York City, go see Mindy present at Film Forum this Sunday, October 17th. It's at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And her presentation is called Pencils, Pens, and Brushes. And also, I'll have links to both the Pencil, Pens, and Brushes book and her wonderful ink and paint book and the podcast notes on my blog, as well as, again, links to this Film Forum talk happening this Sunday. Well, that does it for this episode of the Movies Past and Present podcast. Again, links and more information about the movies discussed in today's podcast can be found in the podcast notes on my blog at moviespastandpresent.com. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher. Links are also on the blog. And follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Handle is at moviespap. As always, I hope you will enjoy some good movies this week, whether they be from the past or the present. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, be safe out there and dedicate yourself to the truth.